Hi and welcome to another episode of Exceptional TV with me, your host, Alex Granger. Today we're speaking to Shelley Walters, the founder of the Sales Council. Let's get to it. So, Shelley Walters, welcome to Exceptional TV. It's really great to have you on the show. How are you doing?
Thanks, Alex. Really well, and I'm excited to be here.
Haven't seen you in ages. Like, we haven't spoken in a long time.
Way too long. But I've been keeping an eye on you and watching the interviews.
I feel like you've dumped me because you used to coach me.
That was in another lifetime.
So you know my qualitative presentation's gone south as a result. When are we reigniting this thing? Because I want to be at the pinnacle of my game. I've already got my look. That's why I changed my look to the African thing, because if you're going to talk nonsense, at least look good.
Oh, Alex. Listen, from what you've been telling me, what you're working on, I'm really, really excited to hear.
It's really fun. And so, listen, as I said, great to have you on set. I want to know a little bit more about, well, I know you quite well, but I think our viewers want to know, like, who is Shelley Walters? What are you involved in? What's your business? What have you been doing since the last time we spoke, which is probably quite a few months ago, but we haven't really seen each other face to face. So who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so who is Shelley Walters? Wow, that's quite a deep question to start so early in the morning, Alex. When I talk to my clients, I always say to them that if I was a Russian doll, you know those little Russian dolls, and you go inside, there's a little doll. The one right inside is still a salesperson.
Okay.
So I am a passionate and proud sales individual. Yeah. I've been in sales my whole life.
Right.
And sales for me has always represented a way that you can, the idea that whatever you sell is what you can earn is very compelling.
Right.
Especially if you come from a tough background, as I have. And so having been in sales since I was 19 years old, I've been through good sales training, and I've been through some really shocking sales training, and I've seen it done well, I've seen it done exceptionally well, and I've seen it done not so well. And over the last 22 odd years, I've just remained passionate, and it doesn't wane. So what I do is I speak at keynotes on sales, and then I also am very proudly the founder of a company called the Sales Council.
The Sales Council.
In partnership with my business partner, Kate Moodley. And we work on ensuring that salespeople are equipped to connect with clients, to converse really well with them, and then to persuade them through proposals and presentations.
This question always comes up. Are salespeople born, or can anyone become a salesperson? Because I always think, like, are we not all salespeople to some degree? You're always having to sell yourself in an interview. The guy who's preaching at church, he's selling the gospel in a way. If you're courting a lady, you're kind of selling yourself. But in the professional space, in business, do you think people are naturally talented salespeople?
Well, I would say it this way. You're a very talented musician.
Right. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, I'll take that.
So you could take somebody who has a natural aptitude or an ability.
Right.
Could you teach anybody to sing? Probably not.
No.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that because you have a natural aptitude or ability, you're going to be a star performer.
Right.
You still need to go through training. You need to be willing to endure the hard slog of doing the same rote repetitions and applying the methodologies and essentially the science behind it to become a really exceptional performer.
Yeah.
So I would say, firstly, I don't believe anybody could be a salesperson, but then I don't believe everybody wants to be.
Right. Yeah.
Are we all selling? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Is everybody influencing? Without a doubt. Some doing it better than others? Undoubtedly.
Right.
However, for those that consider themselves to be professional salespeople, consultants, advisors, whatever the case might be, even with a natural aptitude, there are still skills that you can use, which is going to take you from here to here.
Okay.
What I will say, though, is that you can break somebody who's born with that gift. So you can take somebody who's got a good voice, and if they abuse that voice, they can lose it.
That's true. That's true.
So in the same way, if you have somebody that does have a natural aptitude on your team, if they're not given the right training, the right coaching, and the right environment, they're never going to achieve what their potential is.
So I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. My biggest gripe And insurance companies and cell phone companies, if you are watching, listen carefully. I hate receiving phone calls from insurance companies and mobile operators who are trying to sell me their services, because every time they speak to me, it is so scripted. And I understand the value of scripted selling, but I just don't sense the authenticity in that salesperson, because the trick is whenever you hear someone saying, "Hello, Mr. Granger," and I say, "Hi, how are you?" and they say, "Thank you for asking," that they're about to sell you.
Yes.
It just annoys me that they follow the script and they hardly listen to my response because there's another line that they have to say. How do you train such people to change? I mean, obviously training organizations, because they're feeding their stuff to do that. Is there a right way to do it?
So Alex, that's a very good question. So we have sales skill and we have sales process.
Right.
And you cannot remove the two from each other. So the first thing I want to say is, if that individual, if the process dictates that they must use that script, and the job is measuring them not on their effectiveness, but on the efficiency of using the script.
On the compliance.
Correct, on the compliance, and that's what they're going to do, right? But let me tell you something interesting, and for those of you who have got salespeople using scripts, let me tell you something interesting about it.
Yeah.
I used to read the news on radio in another lifetime. For 4.5 years, I was a co-presenter on Kingfisher FM in Port Elizabeth.
Wow.
When you read the news, you can read the news with absolute inflection and enthusiasm and walk out of that studio and somebody will say to you, "What was in the news today?" And you will have no clue.
Okay.
Because you're not engaging your prefrontal cortex with the content.
Right.
You can read it as you would off a teleprompter.
Hi, Shelley, hold on. Prefrontal cortex. What is that? I know it's in the brain, but like in Leo King, what is this prefrontal cortex?
The prefrontal cortex, Alex, is the part of your brain that makes decisions, that reasons, that deduces, that calculates.
It's the rational brain. That's the thinking brain.
Correct.
Right.
So we are drowning in information, but we are starved of insight.
Right.
Your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that extracts insight from information. So it takes your experience and the information, and from there it's able to draw insight.
Right.
When your job is to read a script, it does not require you to have insight. It does not require you to have empathy. It does not require you to actually engage. And the challenge with conversation is you cannot put a conversation in a process. It's dynamic in nature.
Yeah.
We could try and script today, but we wouldn't even bother, because you're a dynamic person, I'm a dynamic person.
Exactly.
And this is a learning environment here, where I'm changing you and you're changing me. So I feel for people in a call center who don't actually have the freedom to work within a boundaried framework. So that would be my advice, is to have a framework for the person on the phone.
Right.
And within the guidelines of that framework, they can exercise their autonomy and the personality that they have. Because that's what frustrates you.
Yes, it's the personality, and I just don't feel like they're engaging with me. And anyway, so that was just that issue. But I wanted to talk to you and ask you about some of the key challenges that sales professionals are facing today. We are living in a very depressed environment. The economy in South Africa is not doing well, in fact, globally.
Yeah.
If I look at just GDP growth, we always complain South Africa's GDP growth is very low. The US GDP growth is not that big either. It's not over 2%, but you look at other countries that are thriving, like the Ethiopias of this world, or the Ghanas of this world, or even China, that just continues with this huge population. They're still able to grow their economy at really high margins. So the salesperson is under immense pressure to produce. What are some of these challenges that you've faced in your world of work, in the work that you do in terms of training, and how do salespeople then circumvent these obstacles that they're constantly facing?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a series of questions in there, Alex, and each one, one could go into quite a amount of depth.
Yeah.
But so let's just look at it from just from what's obvious.
Right.
We are in for a tough time over the next 2 to 3. Who knows? It could be longer. I'm not an economist, but we know it's going to be a tough time. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. And then on top of that, we've got the global pressures of commoditization.
Right.
And what happens when times are tough, Alex, is that companies change the way that they buy.
Right.
And you talk about agility,
right,
and how important that is for an organization that's hoping to lead.
Right.
So the organizations that are slow to respond to the change in buying, which is necessitated by the change in the economy, are going to fall behind. But those that are proactive proactive enough and agile enough and bold enough to meet the buyer's changing requirements are going to be able to embed themselves with their client. And here's what we've got to remember as we enter this time, that the embedding we do now will serve us when it's harvest time again. You know, when we're back on the upswing, we are now able to kind of dig those trenches and bury those seeds, and we'll bear fruit now, but of course into the future, we don't know where that, you know, how valuable that will be. So that's the first thing I'll say. The second thing is that sales professionals have to be selective about the product or the service that they're representing. You know, a good deal is win-win.
Yeah.
My very first sales manager, Gordon Menzies, said that to me. A good deal is win-win. So that means that the sales professional has to win by representing the product or the organization. And when people ask me, you know, how do I improve the confidence of my salespeople? Well, it's very simple. If you want to be more persuasive, you need to be fully persuaded.
Right.
And if you as a sales professional are not fully persuaded that your product, your service you're offering, and that doesn't mean that you don't have challenges.
Yeah.
Look, folks, every company I work with has challenges on delivery and execution, and that's not what I'm saying. But if you're not fully persuaded that your offering is the best, that you would buy it, it's going to show.
Yeah.
And if your competitor is more persuaded than you are, you're immediately at a disadvantage. So that's the second thing that I would say.
Right.
You need to know what you're representing. You need to be fully persuaded.
Right.
Because that's what's going to give you the grit to stick it out when the clients are... Look, because what we can also anticipate is that the buying cycle is going to become longer. When the budget has been cut, you've got a longer buying cycle, more aggressive pricing, and more people involved in that decision.
I was just about to say that. It's no longer that one person who can just make the call.
No, that...
Supply chain management, there's procurement departments, and...
So that, you know, those are kind of the predominant things, is to, one, ensure that you're able to meet your clients where they're at. Two, that your salespeople, you got the right person in the right place doing the right thing.
Right.
And that you're giving them the support that's necessary. So fortunately, what we see is that companies do not cut back on the support and training for their sales teams at this point. Because we know that this is, I mean, Alex, how are we going to shift this economy? I mean, yes, government's got to do their bit. Okay. But let's look at how are we going to do it? I mean, how are we going to do it?
How are we going to do it? We got to stimulate buying.
Right? So what does that mean? We've got to sell.
We've got to sell.
So the plus side, the good news is that sales professionals are the prize going forward.
Right.
They are the differentiator in your organization. Companies can differentiate on price and product. They can differentiate on product and service, be the most innovative, etc. We can differentiate on price, or we can align with our buyers. The first two come with challenges we don't have time to discuss today. Aligning with your buyers requires a salesperson that is your differentiator.
That's right. Interesting.
And so we are the hope of the South African economy. Now that's a
conversation that needs more.
But isn't that inspiring? I mean, and
it is true.
And I'm not just saying it to be inspiring. Look, we've got to sell. Good products to customers that need them, and that's how we're going to grow our economy. That's how we create jobs.
Absolutely. Very interesting. But we're pressed for time. You know, it's a very short segment. We're on set with Shelley Walters, the sales counsel, you said, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to put up all the things so you can follow the sales counsel. So, in closing, we need to just find out from you, what are the 3 nuggets you want to share that can at least give more focus to sales professionals in the current narrative? Like, what are if you had to just say, what are the 3 most important things that you need to do now to kind of really get your act together? Because it's tough. I find it tough as well. I mean, I actually want to know this for myself.
So, 1, listen to your buyers. I mean, really listen. Take their feedback and sit down and think about what it means. You have to cut out any inefficiencies in your sales process, because they're increasing your cost of sale and they're increasing the frustration of the buyer.
Okay.
When you've done that, make sure that your salespeople, you've got the right person in the right position, and that they've got the skills that they need. You need more skills now than you did when the times were good.
Okay.
Right? And keep them motivated. And by motivated, I don't mean just rah-rah. Look, I can do with a good dose of rah-rah myself. But really help to keep their confidence up. And then as you do that, you just got to keep your eye on the prize, on the horizon. Get rid of anything on the boat that you don't need there and buckle down.
Yeah. Thank you for coming through. I know
you.
you and I are both struggling with the flu today, but it's been good. Thank you for sharing such great insights. I almost feel like you had more energy than me. This is my show. You know that, right?
I'm sorry.
At some point you're asking me questions like, who do you think you are? This is my show.
This is what you get for inviting friends and fellow speakers.
But I'm going to have to invite you back, because I think some of the other issues you mentioned where we need to have more conversations around will really help and equip salespeople to become more professional, to become more successful. And unfortunately 15-minute sex, doesn't not sex, because I wanted to say segments. I don't know.
You said no cutting. You said no editing.
No cutting. Shelley, thank you for coming through. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to having you back on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that's it, folks. You know what to do. Follow our pages. And from me, this is it. We'll see you on the next episode. I'm out.